if I keep forgetting, the March 18th budget work session. Ms. Boucher, will you call the roll?
Ms. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Dubois?
Here.
Ms. Hastings?
Here.
Ms. Higgins?
Here.
Ms. Meeker?
Here.
Ms. Minot?
Here.
Ms. Sadowski?
Here.
Ms. Walsh? And I am
Here.
here.
We are going to start with a more in-depth discussion on the proposal to create our own alternative high school
Yeah.
program, and I'll turn
So-
it over to the superintendent.
So I'll emphasize, when we had discussions about this, we were looking at a population of students who struggle to engage in the traditional experience at the high school, looking at ways to re-engage, what I would call at the high school a tier 2 heavy to tier 3 level of support, an alternative pathway to achieving a diploma. So what do alternative pathways look like? You'll hear more about that from my esteemed guests from the high school. But flexible scheduling, flexible ways of earning credits, extended learning opportunities, internships, things of that nature come into play. How do we bring in a certified teacher into a classroom setting with blocks of time used differently than the 90-minute schedule that's given to the classes at the high school currently? So yeah, all those things come into play. Does it have to start at 7:45 when the high school starts? Does it have to end at 3:02 when the high school is dismissed? Things of that nature you consider. When we started going down this road, we acknowledge that we have a profile of a student that does not always succeed in that traditional method. They may go in and out accessing some courses, but their pathway to the diploma is not straight in the traditional pathway. So we're trying to not only engage students who struggle sometimes with going to their full class, load of classes on their schedule load, but also students who have, in this past year since September, we've had over 50 students, and I think it's 36 between the high school and the middle school that have chosen to go to homeschool because they're not having success. They showed up, their attendance wasn't bad in school. It's not a truancy issue, but they're not engaging in their academics. So part of this is how do we engage students who are leaving us and not participating in the academics? And then part of it does play into our relationship with Second Start. There was a recent article I shared with you. This is not an attempt on myself or the Concord administrators or Concord High School to shut the doors at Second Start. This is an attempt on us to better identify the profile of our students, get them the necessary supports they need, and when a student may access Second Start, it's going to be a confirmed good fit. I had a great conversation with the chair of the board of directors at Second Start this afternoon, going through this whole initial proposal, talking through some of the things that we're already doing at the high school, what we're looking to do, and some of the things they'll share with you. So I want to emphasize, although there may be a lot of emotions around this, this is really Concord High School looking at how do we create pathways to diploma outside of what we already have, because we have 168 students who are choosing homeschool right now. Of that 168, 70-something would be between 6th and 12th grade right now in our school district. We should be looking into this information. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to these people here.
And if you could all just introduce yourself for everybody.
I'm Kristen Cooney. I'm the director of the Adult Diploma Program.
Graham Crowther, assistant principal at Concord High School.
I'm John Billings. I'm a special educator at the high school and New Hampshire history teacher in the Adult Diploma Program.
Chris Gallo.
Thank you.
So we were looking at the opportunities that are available within Concord High School for students that Tim had mentioned as kind of our hesitant learners and what options and opportunities we might have for them. So we really wanted to look at this in a positive direction and go with the future forward with kind of our big overview of what we were looking for. So this is kind of our holistic vision of what we wanted to look for students to kind of come back with open arms to Concord High School who are previously enrolled in Second Start. And I think that the important piece that needs to be mentioned here is that students currently enrolled in Second Start are already accessing Concord High School classes, and the majority of them are accessing adult diploma classes. So this is minimal transition for most of those students. So this is kind of our start to a mission and vision. We will be linking them to the vision of the graduate, the crimson culture, and kind of as we continue to build, we want to link all of these pieces together to make it more successful.
So a little bit of the financial history that goes along with the Second Start Alternative High School. We budget and pay for 38 half-day slots on an annual basis at a cost of $22,000 per slot. So a full-time student is $44,000 annually. Regardless of whether or not we fill those 38, we budget and pay for those 38 slots, which is an annual total of $836,000. Not including any additional costs such as transportation to bus students midday, either back to Concord High School or from Concord High School to Second Start. We were able to impact that with Jack's help last year where it wasn't outsourced, but it's still a cost that we now carry internally. Current number of students at Second Start Alternative High School is 23. Of that, make up 11 are full day, 12 are half day. We continually do strive to fill the 38 slots. So as students graduate or matriculate out, we go through our referral process to keep those 38 slots maximized, as it is an expensive cost to the district. This year, we have 4 special ed students graduate, which will leave 4 currently on the roster. So of the 23, 8 total are special ed. To enter the adult diploma program, you have to be 16 years old, basic minimum requirement. 19 students currently at Second Start are 16 years old. Of those 19 students, 15 are currently also enrolled in the adult diploma program. So 79% of the students that are at Second Start are also accessing our adult diploma program at Concord High School additionally.
Could you explain a little bit more what the adult diploma program consists of, and perhaps Mr. Billings, this might be a great opportunity to share some of the instructional activities that go on.
Yeah, so I'll transition to that. So just going back to last year's alternative high school graduates, there's 10 graduates. Names have been redacted. You'll see where their credit counts to the 20 credits come from. 50% of those 10 graduates received the majority of their credits either from Concord High School or through the adult diploma program. Every single student who graduated last year accessed the adult diploma program in order to graduate with a Concord School District diploma. And the totals are there for those 10 students. So Kristen, who oversees the adult diploma program, came on board and has really revamped and turned it up and made it into a program that is well beyond the expectations and of where it was when she first started. So giving her the opportunity to kind of dive into how she did that and what it's all about.
So I started about 4 years ago with about 60 students that included dually enrolled students from other high schools and adults. I was a teacher in the program and then kind of came on board and took over. And from that point on, now we have almost 200 students enrolled from 7 different area high schools. I've made relationships with area high schools that send to CRTC, also send students to us. And those school districts pay tuition to come to our classes. As you can see, we offer a variety of courses. There are 13 spring courses being offered, including pop culture storytelling, game theory with math, lots of really fun and exciting courses that students have really engaged in. Every single one of our courses is full. So we have students in courses in the afternoons and evenings, and they are all full to the brim with students, but I do keep them really small. The classes are under 15 students. We are meeting the state competencies. We have teachers from all over New Hampshire, but we also have a lovely group of our CHS teachers, who are the majority of the teachers in the program, who are offering these awesome creative experiences. And many of them have said that it really revived their excitement for teaching, because they get to teach fun things like math theory through games. So it's a really awesome opportunity for students. I've also, every semester that I've been teaching, have offered CRTC teachers to teach in our program. We've had them every single semester. We've had welding. This semester we have drawing. We have Adulting 101. So we have lots of collaboration with other teachers from CRTC and CHS. So this is a year-round program, and it continues to grow.
Some of the collaborative partners that are involved are listed here. And that's the beauty of this model that we're looking at as an adult diploma program and expanding upon that to bring it to Concord High School. The partners are already there. Kristen's done a phenomenal job of reaching out, forming these relationships, and allowing students to access educational opportunities outside that traditional model. So the courses are developed by the teachers that we bring on board. There's not a canned curriculum for them. We look for teachers who have interests and passions, and we go through the vetting process to make sure they meet the standards and competencies. And with this idea in mind that collaboration, as Dr. Herbert said, extended learning opportunities, the career and trade training, working with Jessamine Rockwell, our ELL coordinator, and internships for some of that work-based learning and project-based learning. And we're very happy to have Mr. John Billings here with us tonight, who, as he said in his introduction, is a former history teacher, current special ed teacher, and teaches a walking New Hampshire history course as part of the adult diploma program. I wanted him to kind of explain to you how that process was.
So I developed a Walking New Hampshire history course this fall. We utilize local resources right here in the community. Concord's full of local resources that are free and easy to access. We can access history right there at Concord High School, which is full of history. The State House is a perfect example. We take a tour of the State House. We also tour the Franklin Pierce Cemetery. Students work on research projects from the time period, historical figures from New Hampshire history. They get to learn about the democratic process in the New Hampshire State House, learn how that works. It's really interesting and neat to see students who might not be successful in a traditional classroom really have their eyes open on the tour of the New Hampshire State House and see that they could be active participants in the democratic process. And there was a wow factor for many of my students this fall when they took the tour and found out, yeah, they could attend a lot of these committee meetings and they were open to them. The class continues to grow and develop. We're always seeking new resources. We have the New Hampshire History Museum right here in town, and a number of things that I continue to do and develop, and the class has just grown. It's been neat as a special educator to see many of my students that I case manage be successful in the adult diploma program and feel that success, because we know that once students feel successful in a class, that just continues to build throughout their academic career and then after they finish their educational careers at Concord High School.
And how many competencies or areas of study does this course encompass?
So that was I should have mentioned that. In addition to earning a history credit, a New Hampshire history credit, we can also earn a physical education credit because we're walking quite a distance sometimes from Concord High School, which the students do grudgingly. Sometimes walking from Concord High downtown to the Aquila Chase building is a bit of a journey, and we walk back, but it's over a mile, so they do participate. It's a good activity. I can point things out along the way. I love to talk, obviously, so it's a good experience for them. There's a written component to it as well. They do have to produce a final summative project at the end of the course about what they learned, and they are required to reflect upon some of the things that we've talked about and learned and relate it to not only New Hampshire history but the current day as well.
And for the PE side, I collaborated with Leslie Berry to see if it would meet the competencies that were needed in that manner. And so we kind of worked through, if a student wanted this for PE credit instead of history credit, how would they go about doing that? So we have some pedometers left over from our FabFitFun summer course, so we get to use that for our students who are using it for PE credit. So it is an opportunity there as well, and we're meeting the competencies in either direction for the students who need either type of credit.
As Superintendent Herbert alluded to earlier, we kind of stepped back and took a look at who are the profile of the current students that are currently at Second Start or need that specialized model. Students who prefer a smaller learning environment, who prefer varied learning opportunities, a flexible schedule as opposed to a rigid schedule as we have at Concord High School, that 8-block day, and an environment that supports individualized needs. I'd say almost all of our Second Start students are already connected with our adult diploma program or our academic center at the high school. We are providing these opportunities for these current students at our high school and believe we can continue to do that with the expansion of this adult diploma program. In terms of how the referral process works, using our MTSS program, to be referred to the alternative high school right now is a Tier 2 intervention. Their school counselor meets with the student, talks with the parent about the opportunities offered, and then gets referred to our student intervention referral team. And then we reach out to Second Start to determine an intake meeting. Upon successful completion of the intake meeting, they're then determined to be half-day AM or half-day PM, with the expectation of a comprehensive schedule somehow built between the two. We believe we can bring that all in-house. We have the system set up. They would still go through the referral process. They would stay with their counselor for all 4 years. They're still attached to Concord High School. They would just move to a separate location of the building that we've mocked out and modeled out with the help of Matt, Jack, and Tim, of kind of, if we're gonna bring it back to the high school, where and what does that look like?
So the location we kind of have been looking at is this wonderful, lovely location outside of the academic center. It's bright and airy. It's a welcoming and lovely space. There's access to bathrooms, access to the cafeteria, an easy exit. Lots of availability to make this a flexible learning environment. We have talked about kind of building new instructional spaces over the summer to make sure that we have the ability to turn it into that smaller environment that students are looking for. We also, in the academic center, have some smaller spaces where students can do group projects or to work kind of in a conference room or have that quieter kind of downtime space that they might need. Thank you for the photos.
You're welcome.
This is kind of the big piece that I love, is that when students are off-site, they don't have access to all of the amazing opportunities that we have at Concord High School. So these are just some of the wonderful things that we have on campus for students to be able to access. And these students are Concord High School students, whether they're on-site or off-site, and these are the wonderful things they get to access when they are at Concord High School on our campus. And there are so many more things that I didn't get to put on here, but I know that this offers a wide variety. And really just kind of looking for the potential for the future. The relationships with the districts are already built. There's lots of growth and success already expected. I am the type of person that the worst thing that someone can say to me is no, so I like to ask the question and kind of move it forward and ask for growth and opportunity and collaboration. So I really enjoy those things, and that's kind of how we've grown this big, in this short amount of time. I love the opportunity to be flexible. I love having options for students. I love making it as creative as possible. And I really would love to continue to see students feel success in the Concord High School building. And when they graduate, like on this field, they kind of feel that whole support system behind them.
We were fortunate to get some student testimonials, and we'll end our presentation with some of the students that are currently in the adult diploma program that are not part of Second Start and have experienced success.
I jumped into my classrooms and I said, hey, who wants to talk about how they feel about their experience with flexible learning and the adult diploma program? And a bunch of students said yes, but these four really were like, I would love to talk about that. So it was really kind of heartwarming to see them jump up and say, I want to tell about my experience. And they were pretty amazing and very gracious in their time by telling me, like, I had 0 credits. I wouldn't have graduated. I would have dropped out. But these classes are fun. They told me that their classmates were nicer in the afternoons. I don't know why. Maybe they're grumpy teenagers in the morning. But they said that the teachers are helpful and they got lots of opportunities. They've taken welding. They have been able to get credits from taking classes at Manchester Community College where they did an HVAC training course. So it was really great to kind of see this in fruition with the kids after school today to tell me how wonderful their experiences have been, and every single one of them said, I wouldn't have made it without this flexibility.
And then just to sum it all up, the structure's there, the programming is there. We're just looking to expand that after-school programming into the flexible day programming to make it a holistic program, top to bottom.
Thank you. Ms. Higgins, you have a question?
So just logistically speaking, so Second Start classes are during the typical school day. Used to be 3-hour, 4-hour sessions too. And I know a lot of our adult ed classes are at night, so you clearly don't work from 7:30 in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, or maybe you do. We can talk about it. But so I'm a student that had thought maybe I would need Second Start, but no, I'm going to try the Concord High, try it there. So do I maybe come in the afternoon because some of my classes are at night? Would I and
That's
then,
the beauty of it, is that we get to be flexible. So
there's coverage all day long.
Yep.
There are staff in that area, that wonderful future area, for students that want to be there in the daytime. But
Yep.
if there's a course that only happens in the evening and they want to take it, they can manipulate their schedule to not be in school 16 hours a day.
Yeah, we get the flexibility once they've joined the alternative adult diploma program that they can come in the afternoons and take classes at night.
Right.
Some students like to come in and take classes in the morning, have a little break, come back in the afternoons. It really depends on the student and what their needs are, and that's the beauty of it, is that flexibility is there.
Is there anything that Second Start offers that we won't have?
I mean, it's the alternative location, but in reality, I think that having the opportunity to be at Concord High School, that's the only difference.
And what about students under 16 who aren't eligible for the alternative, the adult diploma program?
There's still the flexibility there because a lot of the programs that we have, such as the academic center, such as competency recovery, and the ability to just be flexible with students and kind of meet them where they're at, is still there. They don't have to join the adult diploma program. Not everybody has to join the adult diploma program. It just offers more flexibility with outside of school learning credits, but we have fabulous teachers, we have an amazing staff, we have lots of creative people, and this just gives students access to that.
And with the expansion day side, we'd look to bring on 2 teachers or 2 FTEs of teachers so that students who aren't experiencing success in traditional classrooms can join this program during the day and do a 2-hour block at Concord High School, a 3-hour block at Concord High School in the morning. And then if they choose to engage in the adult diploma program, that's always an option when they turn 16. We have students who could take 2 Concord High School classes in the morning and then go to the Future Forward program for their afternoon block, where they get that differentiated, smaller personal learning in possible core areas that they aren't experiencing success.
Dr. Herbert, are the cost of the 2 teachers included in
They're
the net?
included in our budget already.
Okay.
What I would add, Second Start does provide the alternative location. They also are a state-approved special education setting, and this program would not rise to being a state-approved special ed program. So with that being said, there are things that Second Start still continues to offer that if, Mr. Crowther, can you go back to that tiered pyramid? That tier 3, the intensive intervention, that's where Second Start comes into play. What this allows is going back to the students who are choosing, they may have come to school, but then they disengage and go homeschool because they're just not getting that traction, or as Kristen pointed out, there is a huge overlap of students when they hit the age of 16 at Second Start accessing the ADP. If we were to create a day program that had that flexible component built in, are we gonna be able to keep these students engaged in their academics at the high school instead of waiting until they're 16 and put them into ADP in a reactionary mode? Are we gonna be able to catch them ahead of time? And in some cases, they may never matriculate into ADP. They may get their stride, find their purpose, and really flourish with the Future Forward program, as well as a combination of day school at Concord High School. So it's not meant to take the place of Second Start. It's another option in between leaving Concord High School and going to like a Tier 3 intervention of Second Start, or to really not that homeschool is a bad thing, but some of our students are going to homeschool because they've had no success. Is there a chance for us to prime those pumps and really give them an opportunity for success with the resources we have?
Okay. Ms. Mika?
Thank you so much for this very enthusiastic presentation, perhaps a bit responsive to some community feedback. We've been getting a lot of, sort of community feedback on a lot of the budget decisions that we're having to make coming up. This feels like something that was an efficiency that was going to be proposed at some point regardless. And I wanted to just sort of confirm that because, we want to make sure our community understands that we are in a responsive phase as far as needed reductions, but there are also opportunities and efficiencies that we can explore as well. Would you consider this to be something that we threw in the budget because we had to, or because we wanted to?
No, as you can see, I've been growing and growing and growing, and I've done a ton of research on alternative programs across the state. I've looked at Derry, I've looked at Merrimack Valley, I've looked at Portsmouth, and so we really looked at all of those successful programs where students stay and find success. I've been to visit, I've taken rubrics, I've interviewed their directors, and it's really been kind of my labor of love to look at what options have been successful for students and look at how the landscape is changing and find new ways to do things. And so this has been kind of a research-based process that grows from the adult diploma program into the academic center, into competency recovery, and then really looking at more opportunities for our students inside of Concord High School.
I'd say Kristen's been working on this vision for about 2.5, 3 years. It hasn't been reactionary. There has been a lot of work behind the scenes of bringing this forward and how do we make it work? What are the logistical steps? And what are the budgetary implications? So it is, I would not say it's reactionary at all. I think it would undermine the work Kristen has put into this.
Thank you.
Mr. Dubois?
Yes, so with the, in the special education world, one of the things that we think about a lot is least restrictive environment, and at times that least restrictive environment results in placing students out of district. Is there a likelihood that this program could end up being used as least restrictive environment and could actually end up saving a lot of dollars by keeping someone in-house rather than having to send them out elsewhere?
Yeah, actually, that was the conversation in my adult diploma program meeting last week with all the directors, and they were saying that they're seeing students come back into these daytime programs and saving districts hundreds of thousands of dollars from not placing them outside of the building in these other environments. And I thought that was really great to see, and I think that as the student testimonials have told you, these students would have dropped out. They would have gone elsewhere. They would not have been successful if they didn't have the opportunities and the flexibility that has been offered to them for the last few years.
Thank you.
Other questions? Ms. Sadowski and then Ms. Campbell.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this presentation. I'm very excited about this. I think since we started placing students at Second Start, so much has changed. And the opportunities that you all have brought forward, ELOs and the walking history, I mean, that's incredible. And so thank you for your work. And I'm curious, what would go into state approval for a special ed setting? Is this, because I do hesitate to move children who are not on IEPs to give them opportunities that are not, that I wouldn't want to see a situation where just students on IEPs stay at Second Start, because this would not be a state-approved special ed setting. What does that process look like, and have you considered it?
That's not something I've considered, but like I said before, we have wonderful resources in the building. We have many special educators. We have lots of students who already have the case management at our school and not at Second Start. So there's lots of collaboration across the board. And these are Concord High School students. They're just in an alternative setting at the moment. Many of them are coming back and taking classes in the afternoon. Many of them are accessing their skills classrooms. Many of them are already accessing the things that we do have to offer.
Dr. Herbert, would you like to
Could you?
add on that? Because you may have considered that.
It does, it takes, it's about a 2-year process. You have to meet certain components in order to be considered a special ed setting. We would be we'd given a probationary status for a year. They would come in and observe the program. Katie Scarpati probably has great experience with this, with the OWLS program recently over at Millbrook, but there is a pretty prescribed process that we would have to go through for the department approval, and we've looked at it. Right now, we're trying to provide general programming in a flexible schedule and flexible learning opportunities. Could we begin looking at that down the road? Absolutely.
Excellent.
Ms.
Thank
Higgins,
you.
Ms. Campbell, and then Ms. Hastings were ahead of.
Oh, it's fine. I was just gonna answer her question about a special ed specific to that. It's just Concord High School students, since it's in an in-house building, and their case managers are in the building, even if they're not in what was Concord, I feel like it would not need to be a specified special ed setting in that regard. People coming from other districts, that could be different.
That would be.
But for our students, so we wouldn't have to send them to Second Start because, that's gonna be a special ed thing, because they're still in Concord.
I would just to caution, like, a student who receives special ed services, we have over 200 students at the high school who don't access our alternative high school. Students who go to Second Start have gone through that tiered approach, and it has been identified different interventions have been tried and they have not been successful. And each time you go through that, you develop this learner profile, and the learner profile mirrors the mission and the profile of the learner that Second Start works with. And that's how they get there. So, I just want to emphasize, it's not Second Start. The focus is not just about the special ed setting. Although I did shed light on that earlier, we wouldn't be looking, and we did include in the budget the amount to maintain the seats for the students who are receiving their programming there, because we don't want to break continuity of programming. We don't want to disrupt with any success they're having. But again, Concord High School, we do have all those a lot of resources available. We're able to meet diverse student needs who are on IEP. So we haven't traditionally looked at Second Step for just special ed.
Ms. Campbell?
It's clarifying for finance numbers. Do you want to go? Okay. Hi. I too love this so much. I have questions, Jack. I don't know if you want to jump in. I'm trying to understand this from a financial perspective. So I'm going to start with slots. So are we going to assume then, how many slots do we anticipate keeping open with Second Start once this is initiated? That's my first question. 12.
So full day slots are 44,000, correct?
Yep.
And half day slots are 22,000. So we
Okay.
currently have over there, did you say 8 full and 9 half?
Currently 11 full, 12 half.
So 12 half?
Yep,
Okay.
with 8 graduating this year,
Mm-hmm.
and 10 soon-to-be seniors.
Okay.
So we're looking at between 13 or so. We did budget, I believe, somewhere's around 15 slots over there in the budget. I would have to take a look at the number. I could tell you pretty quick what we budgeted. But it was based on the spreadsheet that you have that shows the current enrollment at Second Start.
Yep.
And I did have a conversation with their board of director chair this afternoon, and was confirming some of this information with them as well, to their
Okay.
understanding.
Awesome.
So we are looking to maintain the seats that would be there.
For them. And I think where I'm going with this is, I understand we'd save money by cutting the slots by quite a bit. I can assume then we'd anticipate more tuition coming in from outside districts. That's the plan.
Potentially.
Potential. So that's
Potential.
more hypothetical. And then there's the initial cost of the construction and the additional 2 FTE. Have we kind of thought about when we'd start getting an ROI on this? Like, Because I'm just afraid of that initial cost, like when will that start working out?
So to be honest with you, everything that would take to do this is already in the budget. We'd reallocate resources such as teaching FTEs, et cetera.
Okay.
And look at creative ways of already using what we've set aside for CHS for summer projects to do what we need to, so
Okay.
that we have plan A, plan B, plan C. But what's being talked about right now, you would see no change in the budget as is right now. I would not be
Okay.
surprised in you coming to the board saying, hey, I need to add these 2 positions. No, put it in
Right.
there already.
In the space under summer project, then that's baked into what's already
Yep.
there then, so not.
Yep.
I guess I'm worried too, because we're talking about bringing this office there, like construction costs, parking,
Yep.
so I'm just worried it'll just contribute to a larger
Yeah,
picture.
and we'll talk more about some of the other summer things and implications of moves and stuff, but this one is, total costs would be about roughly $65,000 total for any construction and furniture and stuff that we would be doing for this space.
Cool.
We have other summer projects, and it would be, if we move fully forward in this, we would shift it to there, and a focus may be the painting, the tile, and the ceiling facelift over here for the time being at CHS, and the next summer, we would look to do the other work that we
Okay.
would have put off in order to do this. So you will see no increase in the budget from what you have in front of you based on this
Okay.
proposal.
Yep, that makes sense, thank you.
Ms. Hastings and then Ms. Sadowski.
I just want to say thank you. You know, one of the hardest parts of being on the board that I have found is how do we meet the needs of all of our students? Because we have such a wide variety. And this just feels like another part of our learning pathways that you've already established. And for many of our students at risk, this could be something that, you know, starting up from elementary school, middle school, we start to sort of help these kids find their way. So this just seems like an obvious and natural progression of the Learning Pathways program that we've already begun. So thank you. It's not easy. I know there's a ton of extra work that probably goes with this, but I can't tell you how happy I am to look at those little faces and know that they're feeling proud of what they're doing and that they feel like they have a bright future because somebody cared enough to look outside the box, and that's what you're doing. So thank you.
It was amazing to see them like ready to jump in and tell me what they loved about it. And like these weren't the only 4. It was just like they wanted to do it.
They're proud. You can
Yeah,
see it.
it was. It's great.
It's
And
great.
if you knew some of these kids 2 years ago, you would not have seen the smiles on their faces that they're showing right now. And in all of their testimonials, they said, "I started high school rough. I started high school with no credits. I came to this with nothing, and look at where I am now." So it's really awesome to see their success. And as Mr. Billings was saying, like once that success starts rolling in, they really, really fly. It's incredible.
They know they can.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Ms. Sadowski, did you have?
Kudos to you all, and we love the teachers at Second Start, but this really feels like the moment to do something. I mean, the quality of education plus the more space at the high school. How do we support you tonight moving forward? That's my question.
This is just an informational piece as things come up, and I anticipate conversations will happen in the community. As a board, you're out in the community. It is so you have the background knowledge on what this program is, and that it's not something that's done haphazardly to save money. It's something that's been well thought out. The proof is right there in front of you in these testimonies. And the consideration of space and the quality of the experience has been in the making for going on 3 years now. And I can't emphasize the community partnerships that we've been able to develop. Like Manchester Community College, a child going down there who previously did not think they had a shot of graduating is earning certificates before they graduate and college credits before they graduate in HVAC. That stuff is that's what this is about. And Ann Fowler has been working closely with us this year to discuss how do we expand in the evening program to CRTC after hours, where we're able to open up those classrooms and continue to use them for CTE education with our program as well.
Roy,
follow-up? Yes.
Right, I saw that if there's a need for after-school, could we get an estimate of what is that folded into this year's budget?
Right,
or-
right now, we get by with a tight budget that Kristen manages from what we've always had budgeted for adult education, and some funds we get through some grant funding that we take in, that Ellen helps us around Title II, which is non-traditional adults. Learners who are coming back for program completion. With that, we're able to offer some of these programs. Depending how big this gets down the road, we might be coming back, but right now, we're able to make it. We're able to offer a pretty robust number of programs. We have to limit the seats sometimes in order to make it work, but we do what we can.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for all of your work.
Thank you.
And for coming to Concord High School. You're only with us a couple of years, and you're already, and you apparently spent the whole time coming up with a new program. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda, budget adjustments. Assume that's a Mr. John item.
Let's see if I can get this closed. Okay, so for public session, the only thing I have for the adjustments was asked about the breakdown of the general supply lines and why it was up 200,000.
Yep.
So in your folder, I have put that in there. It's 7 pages telling you what's up, what's down, and why. So I'm gonna try to move that to the screen. But I didn't, I can print it if you want, I just didn't. Oh, wrong one. Forgot I just moved screens. Yeah. No, I'm trying to do it like I have a big remote monitor. Okay. So there's 7 pages that'll show you each line an explanation of why it was up, why it's down. The biggest 2 pieces of that 200,000 is there's 65 or 63,000 in there for the snow plowing supplies, which is salt. We always used to just have that under the contracted service for plowing, but we wanted to pull that out so we can see that, okay, there's the plowing service, but then there's the salt. Because the salt comes from one place and the plowing is this contracted service from another place. So we pulled them out and increased them because they've been running short. A lot of the work that was done here was going through line by line and truing them up to what they need to be. So you'll see a lot of supply lines that have been increased. You also see that up there the increase for the 20,000 for the welding supplies for the new welding program at CRTC. But you can, yep.
A $23,000 increase in cleaning supplies for ADS because of an after-school program. They already have they've had after-school there for years, and if it's for the after-school program, shouldn't the Y be paying for it?
Tripling doesn't seem right
No.
in the cost.
It's
Yeah.
just trued up to what we've actually been spending.
And is that
So it probably gets
equivalent
offset.
to the other
Everything.
elementaries for, I mean, is it
Yep.
just truly cleaning supplies?
It, yeah, because that's maintenance, 2610, yes.
And is that equivalent to the other elementary schools?
That I don't know.
Well, I think we should look at that and
Yep.
figure out why, if it's not, why cleanings cost so much more at ADS.
Only the best bleach for ADS.
But you can go through, and if you have questions,
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna go through every line, but this is all trued up to what it's actually gonna be, okay? The other piece was the staffing, which we're saving for non-public at the end. If I go into, or if you had any other question,
Why is RMS salt separate from the district-wide salt?
because we do it, but
Extra?
you may have heard me said in the beginning of this budget, we're trying to get truer costs to each school. So we prorate it based on square footage. We use a couple different things. We use, depending on if it's software, if it's kids. Is it based on staff, depending on what it is? Is it square footage? Is it building size? You know, is it acreage? It all depends.
So there's gonna
So
be additional.
there'll be other-
Sand lines for all the
Yeah.
other schools, so the 63,000 covers central office and it seems like it should cover.
So you have certain locations that just default, like up at transportation, you have
Yeah.
here, you have, I don't think we parse out Eastman, but I'll get you that detail.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're 200-some thousand over this year just in snow plowing, so it's, yeah, it's been a rough one, but anyway.
Thank you. You'll see them later on, Madeline.
Yeah.
The ice melts separate by schools later on.
Okay.
So you'll see it's.
Yeah, we're trying to, for our DOE 25 reporting,
Yep.
trying to get more accurate rather than just taking a number and splitting it among based on enrollment, because that's been the default. But as your open enrollment discussion, we want to be more accurate on what the schools are being charged. So,
To Pam's point, I would just like to say, like, I do see the movements with the sand and all that, but the cleaning supplies is still, I don't see it being bounced down near us. So
yeah,
if we could get more info on that.
sure, yep. If I go to the next item, that was signatures, which I think we're good with. I got them all from you. I had one page we missed. And then, so open enrollment, and I'll turn that over to you, is that okay? And then you can talk about a high-level kind of steps.
So, just talking about next steps on open enrollment. Now, Dean came to us in January for the retreat, went over the latest rendition of the requirements around that, and some of those requirements, we mapped out like what our next steps would be. We talked about identifying the school programs the other day when Chris Gallo and company came from the high school, because we said our focus we wanted to start was at the high school. They had that nice slide, if you could go to that, Jack, real quick. This slide that really breaks down for you the number of seats we have available at the high school. And they break it down by department. We know that 212 students still need seats, so you have 281 seats. It's broken down by department. If you were to go to that large Excel sheet around course requests and registration, we can target departments we had talked about, like our performing arts, our world languages, AP courses. We would be able to look at that, the exact seat numbers available in there. It would give us an idea of what we could take on and what would be able to put out there as these are opportunities that if students in other districts didn't have, they could consider, coming to Concord High School to take. So we have that information. If you go back to the previous slide, things we have to do as a district in order to move forward with any sort of open enrollment steps forward. We have to, come up with our policy, how we're going to do this. And then in our policy, we got to consider our admissions process. How are we going to handle the application process, consideration, determine who gets in, and it should be driven just by seats. To be frank, it should be if we have a seat available and when they come in. But we have to establish that. We have to establish a timeline for it. When would we actually have open enrollment available? How would we make it available to the public? And how do we track that when a student comes? How long are they in district for? It's a challenge when you think about these things, but these are the things we would have to consider and discuss and put into some form of a policy that we could discuss in a work session and then have an opportunity for a public hearing for the residents of Concord to weigh in on what we discuss and be considering putting forward for open enrollment.
So we will not be able to have a public hearing on open enrollment before we finish the budget.
We will not be able to.
So I don't know that we need to get into the details right now, except to go back to what we have in the operating budget for a tuition line, and what it would mean if and how would we address if the policy that comes out of the board is different than what's in the budget that we
So-
hopefully pass at the end of this month.
So between the two lines, you got about 50,000. But remember, you have an expense and a revenue, so they don't affect anything because you're not. They just net to zero, and we've done that purposely so you had time to absorb what the attorney had given you, and just time to make a decision because it's tough trying to make it within all that you had going on. So you have flexibility, and in October you can eliminate it if you do
So
nothing.
50,000 would be how many students in and out?
Well, we assumed one special, one regular ed tuition kid based on the high school tuition. And then the second, we did a special ed costs based on what the average from 2023, which was the latest that we had, cost for a special ed student. We budgeted both pieces.
Okay, so you basically budgeted 2 students, the equivalent of 2 students, one regular education and one special education.
Yep.
But we also, if I'm understanding correctly, we also assume that the in equals the out.
Right.
So currently, there's a 0 effect on the budget because we assume the same cost would go out as we would receive.
Correct.
But it also assumes that we would take 2.5 students roughly in.
We just,
In and out, yeah.
yeah, there's no way of really.
No, I know, but like, I guess for the,
Yeah.
you know, for setting the budget,
Yep.
you know, a lot of the school districts around us are doing 0 in, 0 out, you know.
Or
and
0 out and.
Right,
10 in, and,
Yeah.
and I don't know that we're gonna get to that level of detail, you know, in this, so maybe the placeholder, I mean, we do have an opportunity to adjust in October, but.
Yeah, because if I take out the revenue, or if I only put in the revenue, I'm artificially lowering what you need to collect. And if I only put the expense side in, then I'm assuming you only have an outbound. So that's why both of them just net to 0.
I mean, it is interesting because just by way of budgeting, we might be one of the only school districts that agrees that students may leave the district, right? So essentially, it's sort of passively saying, we expect a couple of students to leave Concord, right?
Well, considering there's language there's legislation that could change before this budget happens.
They're gonna meet on
That's the only
next
reason we're
Wednesday or
trying to
something.
accommodate
Yeah.
it, so it doesn't necessarily reflect what you're thinking. We're just trying to accommodate what you may not have control over.
And I appreciate that now. A lot of districts have passed theirs without. If we set, one of the things we discussed at our retreat is, okay, we might consider making classes available to students if they could not take those classes elsewhere, like our AP classes, because we have a lot more robust offerings, and that would help allow us to continue to have robust offerings. Could we add that later in the budget and just do 0 for now? Like, because revenue coming in isn't the same as,
Right?
you know, additional revenue doesn't have the same budget effect as loss.
If I understand the current legislation or the current law,
Yeah.
I think we have to at least budget $1. I think we have to budget something.
Can we double check that
Yeah.
with Dean?
Yep. Yeah,
Or just
because I just remember him telling me.
$1 it is.
Yeah, that's it.
Like,
Yeah.
if we really just need a line item.
Remember that?
I mean, we spent more in salt, right, that we didn't expect
Right.
than what you're proposing here. So presumably, we would be able to absorb that level of overage one way or the other. We don't necessarily have to set it at 50,000.
And if it's all in and you've only put $1 in revenue and $1 in expense, then it's all upside.
And we have our line item.
Right. You have your line item.
Well, let's confirm that, and I think perhaps we want instructional to make a recommendation on a policy, and, you know, maybe this is something they can take up April so that we can set the public hearing. I don't know if there's a deadline for when we have to hold the public hearing
On open enrollment.
on open
No.
enrollment.
No, because you have the flexibility.
Because we
with
have
your
more
budget.
flexibility than others. So,
You just have to have 15-day notice.
okay, so why does an instructional take a look at this and come back to us, and then we will schedule a public hearing. Anything else before I assume we have a non-public?
Nope, just to schedule a meeting, so the public hearings are on the 23rd and the 25th, and then you have an open session on Monday, the 30th, with hopefully passing a preliminary budget. Again, 5 votes needed in the affirmative on the 31st.
And are we all set with, we've posted our graphs.
18 by 24, make sure you're clear.
And
Law says it.
we've publicly noticed Concord Television is set for both locations.
We got a thumbs up from Josh.
Josh says they're all set. We will do our best to get working mics at Millbrook and, speak loud. So, okay. With that then, I assume it's personnel issues that we will be discussing?
I will pull up the document that I have for,
Maybe contract negotiations.
yep, so we have 4 topics.
Okay.
91A3, Section 2L.
L, that's, I gotta look up L.
Consideration of legal advice. I have all this.
Oh, okay.
on it. A matter of fact, let me do this. Let me project this on the screen so you can at least see it. It is in. So that is for non-public. You have open enrollment legal advice. So that'll be the document that you'll see. Then you have the staffing adjustment. That's under B and C. And then negotiations, that's RSA 91A2A. And then property update for 2 properties.
So I will move that we go into non-public under RSA 91A
So A3
3,
section.
Section 2, legal advice, A3, Section 2, B and C, personnel, A2, A, negotiations, and 91A2, Section 2D, acquisition, sale, or lease of real or personal property. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Meeker. This is a roll call vote. Ms. Boucher?
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Du Bois?
Yes.
Ms. Hastings?
Yes.
Ms. Higgins?
Yes.
Ms. Meeker?
Yep.
Ms. Minot?
Yes.
Ms. Sadowski?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Motion passes.
Great. My expectation is that we will not have any further business in public this evening. We will just come out to adjourn. So thank you all very much. And we will see you at the public hearings on Monday and Wednesday.